And this was being done by public officers, government officials, from the minister going down, from actually the president going down, because the president's daughter and other relatives are involved in COVID-19 so-called KEMSA billionaire scandal. David Murade's company is one of the beneficiaries of this scandal. Mr. Ngatia, who is a friend and business associate of the president, is involved in this scandal. And there are many, many others like Junet Mohammed and Iswanga and others who got money from this scandal. So it is both ODM and Jubilee are involved in this KEMSA scandal. Now, if you're going to steal donations, you're going to steal money from Treasury that is allocated for confronting the pandemic, then clearly you are part of the problem. And it is a deliberate effort by these cartels to ensure that Kenyans are sick, Kenyans are weak, Kenyans are desperate, Kenyans are despondent, because a despondent, weak, ill, or sick population is easy to manipulate and control. So as far as I'm concerned, this looks like a political tool of control.
But we have seen some efforts by the government. So I need you actually at least to give them some marks. Are you really giving them any marks, or you're just giving them, I mean, out of 10, how many marks are you giving the government?
Negative 1,000.
My goodness, that is
because
is too much,
my friend, okay, so let me ask you.
Yes.
If you are having a global pandemic killing people in your country, and instead of using the resources, the limited resources you have to confront it by supporting healthcare workers, giving them PPEs, you are instead diverting 14 million plus to pursue a BBI, which is not an emergency and which is not something that Kenyans asked for. So why would I give you marks when you do that? Secondly, when you refuse to implement the Constitution, we passed the Constitution in 2010 by 65% of the Kenyan population. The Constitution is very heavy on accountability, transparency, public participation, and democratic practices. When you fail and refuse to implement that Constitution and does everything to subvert it, that is inimical to the interest of the people. So why would I give you credit? Why would I say you are doing something good when you're not doing something good? When you undermine the judiciary, which is the third arm of government and the only arm of government that can deliberate on disputes between the citizens and their governors. And the judiciary issues court orders against egregious abuses and subversions by the government or its officials. And the government officials refuse to obey those court orders and say court orders mean nothing. It's not worth the piece of paper they are printed on. Why would we give you credit when you have demonstrated that you are completely ungoverned and ungovernable? So there is no credit I can give the so-called government of Kenya. This is an illegitimate government. This is an unaccountable government. This is a tyrannical government. This is a government that does not comply with the tenets of democracy and the rule of law.
To be very fair, sometimes it's good actually to give marks where it's due, or give credit where it's due. It's okay. I mean, you have trying actually. I mean, you've discredited the government in whichever direction they have actually tried to fight the pandemic. But at least we've seen them do something. But that is, I mean, let's just let that one pass. I know you want. I know you want. Yes.
No,
Go ahead.
I don't want to let that one pass, because I would like you to give me an example of what the government has done right. So we agree that the government stole donations from WHO and Jack Ma. We agree. We also agree that the government has unleashed brutality on the people. And many people, I saw a report today from human rights defenders, between 1,700 to 2,000 people plus died as a result. We also know that the same government announced that the Kemsa billionaire thieves would be arrested within 20 days, and that has not happened. We also know that the same government has limited access of NHIF card holders who have paid. These are private, insured individuals who have paid over and above their tax shillings, that they cannot be treated if they have COVID-19. So show me evidence that the government has done anything positive for which we should give it credit.
Actually trying to bring forth is about the doctors' strike. The doctors actually went on strike because they lacked the PPEs. They were having various issues they wanted actually the government to sort. And a few days ago, they came together and they said the government is actually going to ensure that their grievances are addressed. So don't you think that is one that is a mark for the government, or what's your take?
My brother, show me what the government did. I mean, these doctors have not been paid. We all know how Dr. Mungusu and what is his name? The doctor that, the young doctor that died in Nairobi.
Yes.
And many others. It's not just him. There are many doctors in Kenya who have died of COVID-19. And there are many nurses who have died of COVID-19. And there are many Kenyans who are dying of COVID-19. Now, when you say the government has agreed to do something, but you're not able to mention what it is that they have agreed to do. So we are going to give credit to a hypothetical myth that there is something to do. You see, the doctors may have agreed to go back to work, probably because they are committed to addressing the needs of Kenyans. I don't know if I'm frozen because I can't see myself speak.
Go ahead. I mean, your network, yeah, you have few network issues. Just go ahead, yep.
Yeah, okay. So they may be committed because of the Hippocratic oath that they took, that they want to actually prevent deaths. That's not a credit to the government. That's a credit to the doctors. There is nothing concrete that the government has done or given these doctors as a concession. Have they been paid? No, they have not been paid. Have they all been given PPEs? No, they have not been given PPEs. Has an environment been created, a safe environment for their work? No, it has not happened. Have these doctors' conditions of employment been improved? None has been improved. So why are you giving them credit? Credit for what?
That is a question which can be answered by the government spokesperson or the minister himself. So we'll definitely be bringing that. We understand that one. We understand that one.
No, I disagree with you. If the government cannot answer for itself, the people have to answer. You see, in a democracy, the people own the government. This is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's what a democracy is. And in a democracy, it is the people who must pass judgment over government. If a government fails to deliver services, it's the people who must say, we have determined this government has failed. The government spokesman praises the employer. It is the people, the which is the ultimate employer of the government, that have to say, that includes me. So when you see me here, for example, why am I speaking with you from Toronto and not from Nairobi? Because the government has disobeyed laws and disobeyed court orders and forced me out of Kenya. If I praise that government, there is something wrong with me. Because a government that has violated your rights, you cannot praise. Why would you want me to praise somebody who has abused my rights, has violated them? You see, even beginning with that, then when you go to the issue of the health workers, then you have to ask yourself the question, why are nurses on strike? Doctors can't work without nurses. And if the nurses are still on strike, and the government has not done anything to meet their demands, then this government stands condemned. That's my point.
We'll delve deeper into that into that conversation maybe later. Today, let's continue focusing on a few key areas here. Our viewers want to hear from you. Let's now continue with the conversation. So, as an African immigrant living in Canada, we understand why you're actually living in Canada. You're supposed to be living in. You're supposed to be working and staying in Kenya as a Kenyan patriotic, but because of the government, you are actually in exile. That one Kenyans actually understand, and there is no Kenyan sane enough to say that it's fair the way the government treated you. That is completely unfair, and especially from the diaspora's perspective, we believe that you're supposed to be in Kenya. That is your right. Okay, now let's go back and ask you another question here. As an African immigrant who is well educated and well informed about the way research companies have been associated with weird and orthodox methods in developing vaccines. Right now, we've got two vaccines. We have one from Moderna and another one from Pfizer. Are you ready are you prepared or ready to get vaccinated? Kenyans would like to hear from
you. First of all, I'm not an immigrant. An immigrant is somebody who buys an air ticket and goes to another country willingly and stays there, either because they are looking for a job, greener pastures, or whatever. I'm in exile, and I think it is important that if you work with the media, that you actually use appropriate terms to describe your guests. I am someone who was forced into exile, and I do not want you to refer to me as an immigrant, because I did not come here. I did not immigrate to Canada. I was brought forcefully to Canada in violation of the laws. Secondly, regarding the vaccines that have been put out by Moderna and Pfizer, I think it is great that Pfizer and Moderna, and these are scientists that came up with the vaccines. It's not the companies that did. These are individual scientists. Some of them are African. There is a Nigerian doctor, researcher, who is part of the Pfizer.
Go ahead.
Are we on?
Yeah, we are on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The doctor who is part of the Pfizer research team that came up with the vaccine. So the vaccine did not come out of nothing. It came out of work, brilliant work of researchers, doctors, scientists that have spent hours and hours and a lot of resources to come up with the vaccines. I cannot vouch for the vaccines because I do not know how safe they are. But I believe that the world governments from Europe to North America to Asia would not willingly give poison to their citizens, will not willingly allow themselves to be injected with poison that will kill them. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that these vaccines probably have positive effects on those who take them. I would be willing to take the vaccine once I have observed that it is safe. I'm not one of the people that will go in and probably become guinea pigs. But once I've observed that the vaccines are safe, yes, I'm willing to take the vaccine. If the vaccine can prevent more deaths, then it would be responsible for me to say that the vaccines are bad and that should not be taken by Africans. Because I don't want large numbers of Africans to die. Having said all of that, I also want to be clear that it is time Africans stopped complaining and whining about other people developing vaccines, because we have brains like them. We have resources like them. If we don't like their vaccines, we should develop our own.
That's a great one. Okay, now let's focus on politics. We've seen from the messages online, most people want to, to hear you talk about politics, and especially politics in Kenya. Okay, we've read your tweets and willingness to vie for the gubernatorial by-election in Nairobi County. Are you up to the task? And what makes you feel that you are the best candidate among the few other candidates who have declared interest?
My brother, it is unfortunate the way the question is framed.
I understand that.
Number one,
yes.
If Sonko was a governor, and he was, then that question is an insult to me, because Sonko is not fit to tie my shoelaces. Sonko is not fit to become my driver. Not just on the basis that he's completely unqualified, but also on the basis that he's a cartel. He's one person plus Kidero, plus Peter Kenneth, plus the rest of the people that they're lining up, who have made money from engaging in criminal activity. I have practiced law for 25 years. I've practiced law where lawyers are properly governed, where if you don't have integrity, you will be disbarred. So which means that you have to demonstrate competence, you have to demonstrate integrity, you have to demonstrate ability to protect public interests. And if you don't, you cannot practice law in any Canadian jurisdiction. I've done that for 25 years unblemished. Number two, I've been involved in the fight for justice, social justice in Kenya since I was a teenager. In 1986, when I was at the University of Nairobi, I fought for democracy and multi-party, liberties, and got into problems with the then dictatorship of Daniel Arap Moi because of my stand against dictatorship. I've maintained that stand throughout for years, for decades. That counts for something. I'm the only candidate, and by the way, I'm a candidate for the position of governor of the county of Nairobi in this by-election. I was also a candidate and ran for the same position in 2017. Out of the whole lot, I'm the only one who had a manifesto, a transformative manifesto that had plans on water, on infrastructure, on garbage, dealing with the menace of garbage in Nairobi, dealing with the menace of unplanned development, bringing order and integrity in public, sphere. I had transformative plans of bringing subway system in Nairobi so that the citizens of Nairobi would not be reduced to wild animals struggling with vehicles on the streets. Very dangerous. It's very dangerous to live in Nairobi. Nairobi residents do not have a public transit system. A matatu system is not a public transit system. You know how disorganized and dangerous the matatu, the whole menace of matatu is in Nairobi. You know how bad slums are in Nairobi. I had plans of eradicating slums in Nairobi. I had plans of job creation in Nairobi. And by the way, the moment you eliminate graft in public office, you have more than enough money to be able to do all of these things that I'm talking about. So you need a leader who, number one, has a vision. The vision has to be a vision for the transformation of the lives of the citizens. Number two, the leader has to be committed to transforming the socio-economic and political welfare of the people. The people have to feel this is their government. It is a government that they elected and a government that only answers to them, not to some godfathers in boardrooms or in parties. The people are the employer of the governor, not political parties, not Jubilee, not ODM, not their leaders. Number three, a leader has to be competent. A leader has to understand public policy. A leader has to be able to conceptualize public policy. A leader has to be able to implement public policy. Public policy for the benefit of the people. Number four, I don't know if you're hearing me.
I'm hearing you very well.
Are you hearing?
Yes.
Number four, a leader has to have practical, pragmatic deliverables, plans that are capable of being implemented. And in my manifesto, I unveiled them. They were concrete, they were well thought out, and they were pragmatic. That's what a leader needs. And at the end of it, I've said this many times, the software of leadership is integrity, without which a leader is just a wild animal. You know, we are all but just wild animals if we don't have values, values of integrity, values of honesty, values of hard work, values of accountability, values of transparency, values of making sure that you know and you consider the public as your employers. Anybody else who thinks that they are leaders because they have money, that's not a leader. Because even drug dealers have money. Even the mafia has money. Organized criminals have money. That's not what you need. Leadership is not about money. And leadership is not about parties. Kenya has had parties since independence. But we are still living in conditions of Stone Age because we have not had leaders who consider the public as their employers.
Once again, viewers, this live stream is being brought to you by KDRTV. And if you have any questions, please follow us on Facebook, subscribe, follow us on YouTube. And if you want your question answered, use hashtag KDRTV Live so that your questions can be populated to the system for them to be answered by Dr. Miguna. Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna. Let's now really focus again on the Nairobi gubernatorial position, by election. You've stated very clearly you had a manifesto which is still under your table or somewhere on the table right now because the by-election has actually been called. Critically, when you think about the Kenyan voter, they have specific ways of voting. Some of them are completely uninformed. And when they're actually going to vote, most of them end up voting for people you have actually described as demagogue, illiterate. So what are you really going to do to ensure that Kenyans are going to vote for a leader who is credible, who is transparent, who is educated, who is informed, so that they can make better decisions for the future? So what really needs to be done? Because you are a very transformative leader, but most Kenyans actually vote the other way. So what do you think needs to be done in Kenya, Dr. Miguna?
I want to correct you, Mong'are.
Yes.
You're a Kenyan, are you not?
I am.
Okay, so would you prefer a transformative leader or you'd prefer cartel?
A transformative leader.
Yes, so most Kenyans are just like you. They also prefer transformative leader. But someone would like to convince you that between your home, where you believe in transformative leadership, and the ballot box, something happens to you when you are going to the polling station. And somehow there is an evil spirit that takes over your life, takes control over your hands, and makes you vote otherwise. That is false. We have not had democratic, transparent, accountable elections in Kenya since independence. That's the problem. The citizens have always voted for the right people, and I'll give you examples. When JM was first elected a member of parliament, KANU banned him from running, and he was voted in without having campaigned. Those were Kenyans voting. When the elections of 1963 happened, and KADU and other parties were supported by the colonialists, Kenyans voted for people who, some of them were in jail and some of them did not have money in KANU. Those ones were Kenyans voting. They didn't vote for the cartels, they didn't vote for whatever. In 1969, when Oginga Odinga disagreed with Jomo Kenyatta because Jomo Kenyatta had become a thief and a land grabber, in the mini election, many Kenyans voted for KPU and they did not vote for KANU. But Kenyatta announced KANU having won. That was not Kenyans voting. That was electoral fraud. When Kenyans voted in 2002, they voted against KANU, which was in power, and Moi for many years, and who were bribing them and beating people up and doing all manner of things. Those weren't Kenyans voting. Kenyans, and in 2007, and any other time Kenyans have voted, Kenyans have shown, including recently in Msambweni, because I don't want Msambweni to be seen as Ruto versus Raila and Uhuru. No. It was Kenyans saying to those in power, you will not manipulate us, you will not control us, you will not decide for us. We know what we want. We want an open, transparent, democratic state governed by the rule of law. And we are not going to cow or kowtow to tyranny. We are not going to fear and succumb to brute force or public money that you have looted and you want to use that to get more power. Similarly, in Nairobi, in 2017, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, and the rest of them stole elections, messed up the elections. There was no democratic election in Nairobi. Sonko did not win because there was no credible election. I'm not saying I won because I'm saying the election was not credible. But I'm saying if the elections were credible and Kenyans had elected somebody that they wanted in Nairobi, I would accept the results. And then if they made the wrong decision, they would be able to correct that decision in the next cycle of elections. People are allowed to make mistakes. That's human nature. If we don't make mistakes, we can't change. If we don't make mistakes, we can't transform society. So let's assume Kenyans made a mistake It doesn't mean that they will make mistakes forever. It doesn't mean that they will never ever learn and do the right thing. I am saying I am giving them that option. I am giving them the option to make the right decision. I am telling them, I have a vision. I have serious, concrete plans. I have values. I have integrity. I am qualified for the job. I am giving you that option. Now, if you decide that you want that, you vote for me. But I can't blame Kenyans for voting for cartels if they don't have the option. If you have Kidero, and you have Sonko, and you have Peter Kenneth, and you have Wanjiru, and you have Waweru, you have just a group of cartels. So Kenyans will choose one of them because they don't have an option of electing a clean person. That is why I am in the ballot.
Much, Dr. Miguna. So let's a little bit now focus on BBI. What's your take on BBI?
BBI is a fraud. It is an orchestrated fraud by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. The agenda for this orchestrated fraud is to have a rerun for 2022, is to create factional fights between the oligarchy, between one oligarchy led by Uhuru Kenyatta and the other oligarchy led by William Ruto, for purposes of controlling power in perpetuity for their selfish gains. I don't think Raila Odinga is a player in the BBI. He's a pretender, but he's not a player. Raila Odinga has no power, zero power in the government of Kenya. Raila Odinga has no control over Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila Odinga is just a con man who wants money and has realized that he can get more money if he supports Uhuru Kenyatta. But he has no values, he does not stand for him. BBI is one existential threat to the Kenyan state, Kenyan stability, the democratic system in Kenya, the rule of law, and the constitution. There is no reason why anyone would want to convince Kenyans that they need to change the constitution that has not been implemented. There is no reason why somebody would want Kenyans to believe that this constitution of Kenya 2010 caused post-election violence. It did not. This constitution of Kenya 2010 did not steal the elections of 2017. Uhuru Kenyatta did. This constitution of Kenya 2010 did not loot Kenya's resources. Uhuru Kenyatta and his group did. This constitution of Kenya 2010 did not grab public land. Uhuru Kenyatta and his group did. This constitution of 2010 has not caused instability in Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta and his group has done. So if you want to create stability, if you want to bring national cohesion, if you want to bring peace, if you want to include all Kenyans, then you implement the Constitution of Kenya 2010, you obey the laws, you subscribe to the rule of law, and everything else will work. So BBI is a fraud through and through.
Those are your own words, and most Kenyans actually also, some of them believe in what you are actually telling them. Me as a Kenyan, first of all, I also need, as a diasporan, I also need to see something actually which is really going to ensure that Kenya progress forward. From your own words, you have actually described the president, the prime minister. Those are your own words, actually. Those are not the beliefs or what we are actually propagating as KDRTV. But you are at liberty to say whatever you want actually to say. As a Kenyan, first of all, Dr. Miguna, I'm also at pains to ensure that our country actually moves forward. But one question I want you to tell Kenyans: you've trashed the BBI. But one question is: do you think that there is some good information on that particular document, or the whole document is just trash?
First of all, Mong'are, before you get to the document, ask yourself a simple question, because I think it would be disingenuous to start with a document. Start from the beginning. How did the idea come? In February, well, let's go to February 2018. We were resisting institutional electoral theft that Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to put in Kenya as the default for elections. We were resisting all the companies and organizations and institutions and people that were part of that electoral fraud in 2018. All right? So there was economic boycott of companies that were part of that electoral fraud. We were also resisting police brutality. We were saying that the assassination of Chris Musando, Baby Pendo, and others were outrageous, and that those who perpetrated those crimes should be brought to book. That's what we were saying. How did BBI solve those problems? It didn't. Musando is still dead. Those who killed Musando are the ones that are with Raila talking about BBI. We have not talked about Baby Pendo. We have not talked about the electoral fraud of 2017. We have not brought Uhuru and those who perpetrated that fraud to account. We have not done anything about the other reports that Kenyans have worked and paid for, like the Waki report, the Krigler report, the TJRC report, the Ndungu land report. If you are able to implement all these reports, plus the Auditor General's report, Ouko, the former Auditor General, released more than 7 very, very fundamental annual reports on the entire Kenyan state, that if you were to implement, you would eradicate corruption in Kenya. If you did that, we will not be talking about BBI. BBI is nothing but just another report, but now a choreographed one. A report that has been concocted by hand-picked individuals who are not known, who had no authority from the population. Nobody came to me to ask me if I wanted a BBI. Nobody came to you, Mong'are, and asked you if you wanted a BBI. Nobody went to Kenyans and asked them if they wanted a BBI. So why would we leave our constitution, the one we brought, after 20, 30 years of struggle, and give it up in exchange for some contrived, fraudulent document cooked up by hand-picked individuals appointed by Raila and Uhuru? Why would we do that? Uhuru wants to protect power he got illegitimately. But what is Raila protecting? Raila is the one whose election was stolen. Raila is the one whose supporters were killed. What has he done about his supporters? Has he gotten justice for his supporters? Who has been jailed that killed his supporters? How many of his supporters have gotten compensation? None. So why would we support this thing? This thing is not for us. This thing is for Uhuru Kenyatta, and Raila Odinga is just a conman, pure and simple.
Thank you, Dr. Miguna. We have a question. I believe you can read that particular question from Adan Osman Mohammed. Dr. Miguna, do you think the same government that forcefully exile you, will respect the will of Nairobians in case you win the by-election and allow you back?
Well, that's not the point. Number one, if it was up to the government, I will not be speaking with you. But I'm speaking with you. I don't do things because the government wants. I do things which are my right. So, right now, the government ought to obey court orders. The question he should be asking, and I have to say this, because people seem to forget one thing, that disobedience of court orders is not a good thing. And if any government disobeys a court order, it is a duty of a citizen to say they must do it, or else you get rid of them. You cannot be asking a person whose rights have been violated, do you think the violator will allow you back? Essentially what you're trying to say is that I should give up and join the violator. And I won't. I will continue pushing the violator. So my answer is this. It's not up to the government. It's up to the Kenyan people. And if the Kenyan people elect me governor and insist that I must be back, I will be back. Nelson Mandela came out of jail after 27 years. Even Raila went to detention and came out after more than 7 years. So this is the point. You don't give up what you are doing because somebody has decided to disobey court orders, violate your rights and the Constitution. You must continue to do the right thing.
Thank you very much. There's another question from Felix Maranga. Can you read that question, Dr. Miguna?
That should the law allow for universal diaspora votes, what can be done? I don't know what that means, but I think what he's trying to ask is whether or not the diaspora people should be able to vote. Yes. Kenyans in the diaspora have a right to vote in the Constitution. Essentially, the Constitution gives all citizens the right to vote. Now, the question is, why has the regime in Nairobi not facilitated that through their embassies and organs? Because you can even allow Kenyans in the diaspora to vote electronically. Electronic voting happens right now in a lot of places. Mail-in voting happens in the United States. There's no reason why Kenyans in the diaspora should not be able to submit their votes by mail, for example. Mechanisms can be created to ensure that those votes are secure and that they count and that they're not manipulated or somebody does not announce the wrong result. But yes, all Kenyans in the diaspora should and must have the right to vote.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna. There is another question there. You know, these are questions which are being populated from the KDRTV Ash Live, and Mr. Mohammed Deko Mohammed is asking, when are you coming back to Kenya?
No, when will you want to come back? And okay. That person looks, he just woke up from amnesia. I did not remove myself from Kenya. I was forcefully brought here. I have made 3 attempts to go back to Kenya, and I have been blocked from getting to Kenya. So when you ask, when will you want to come back, implies I don't want to come to Kenya, which makes a whole, which is a problem to me, because that person just woke up from a very long amnesia.
Okay, another one there. It's almost the same question like the first one. We are ready and eagerly waiting for him. Okay, so
you don't have to be in Kenya to campaign. You see, I've told them many times, the Dalai Lama is the president of Tibet outside Tibet. He's not in Tibet. Nelson Mandela was effectively elected president in jail because when he came out, there was just the transition. Kapondi may not be a very good example, but he was elected when he was in jail as the MP for Mount Elgon in 2007. Mark Mwetaga was elected MP for Nakuru Town in the 70s when in jail. J.M. Kariuki, as I said, was banned from running and was elected without having campaigned because he was stopped from campaigning. Mine is not very different. There are many other world leaders who have been elected to high public offices while they are in exile. The point is, I am, by operation of law, in Kenya. I am also in Kenya virtually. Kenyans can see me even right now. Kenyans read everything I post every day. If I am interviewed by Kenyan media, they can listen and see me, listen to me and see me virtually. Kenyans have to stop this pretense that you vote because you see someone physically. A lot of these people talking about when are you coming back to campaign have voted for Uhuru Kenyatta without having met Uhuru Kenyatta. They have voted for Raila Odinga without having met Raila Odinga. Some of them are supporting William Ruto right now and they don't know William Ruto. And they will never meet William Ruto. So they have to get off their high horses and learn that you support a cause because it is just, because it is the right thing to do, because it serves your interest to do so. It is in our best interest to have the best leaders that we can get and to transform the country called Kenya for the benefit of everyone and posterity. And so it shouldn't matter where Miguna is. As long as Miguna can contest and you are able to vote for him, do so even if he's not allowed to come to Kenya to campaign physically.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna. We have hundreds of questions, but we'll definitely have to answer a few. Viewers, we promise that we'll be bringing Dr. Miguna back on live. Definitely, we are planning if he'll be here every weekend to answer your questions. But for the last question,
I would like to answer this question of Akelo Millicent. Doro.
Go ahead, Dr. Miguna.
Because she says, Dr. Miguna, you call Raila con, yet you offer to support him by swearing him in. Is this not political hypocrisy? I will answer that directly. Number one, I did not support Raila Odinga to betray Kenyans. I did not support Raila Odinga to surrender to Uhuru Kenyatta and to become his puppet. I did not support Raila Odinga so that he could try to vanish. He can try to hide under the carpet the atrocities Uhuru Kenyatta committed and his Jubilee group. That's not what I supported. I did not support Raila Odinga to turn around and say Uhuru Kenyatta won elections that he did not win. I did not support Raila Odinga to become Uhuru Kenyatta's bag carrier, a pathetic bag carrier. This is what I supported. I supported the rule of law. I supported the Constitution. I supported democracy. I supported credible elections. Essentially, what I was doing is saying Kenyans cannot be imposed on by someone who did not win elections. That whoever wins an election should be the one to assume power. In 2017, Raila Odinga won elections. I am very consistent. I have said that throughout. I did not say Uhuru Kenyatta won that election. I said it in 2017, even though I was not in ODM. I was an independent candidate for the gubernatorial election in Nairobi. I vied against Raila Odinga's candidate, Evans Kidero, a thief. I was his opponent. I did not support Raila Odinga in 2017 election because I was an independent candidate. but he won the presidential election in Kenya. And once I realized he won credibly. The majority of Kenyan voters voted for him. It would have been wrong for me to say I am not going to support a person who had won. And I would support somebody who had, even if that person was my candidate. If my candidate loses an election, I will not support them. Uhuru Kenyatta did not win the 2017 election. Therefore, I opposed Uhuru Kenyatta's imposition of himself in power. What did Raila Odinga do? He betrayed me. I formed the National Resistance Movement to ensure that the rightful owner, the winner of the election, takes power. I was committed to it.
Thank you very much.
Do?
Yep.
He turned around, betrayed me to Uhuru Kenyatta. So he's the hypocrite, not me, because I've remained consistent and I will not change.
Thank you, Dr. Miguna. We told you we have hundreds. We have hundreds of questions actually. First of all, we would like our viewers to follow KDRTV so that Dr. Miguna can answer those questions. It doesn't mean that if he doesn't answer them today, he will not answer them next week or the week thereafter. So the best option is just write your questions, send them, follow KDRTV live so that Dr. Miguna will get a chance to answer most of your questions. So Dr. Miguna, wow, it's a very hard one.
Look at that silly question. That is it Tangatanga? What is Tangatanga? First of all, this person is like he just woke up from a very bad dream. What is Tangatanga? And how can somebody ask me that question if you have listened to me throughout? You understand? Like, I am saying, I do not support Jubilee, I do not support this BBI nonsense, and I do not support ODM. I do not support anybody who subscribes to cartelism. I don't support thieves. I don't support looters. I don't support land grabbers. I don't support electoral thieves. I don't support those who do not subscribe to the rule of law. That's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna. Go ahead.
I am guided by the values I have already unveiled. And by the way, a lot of these people don't realize that when I was a student leader at the University of Nairobi, William Ruto was not at my level. Why? Do you understand? Like, yes, now he's the deputy president. But at that time, he was singing in Christian Union, and I was a student leader. So how do I, you know what I mean? Like, William Ruto ideologically is not at my level. Philosophically is not at my level. He may have more money than me because he has stolen the money. Just like Uhuru has stolen, just like Raila has stolen, just like the whole lot of them have stolen. I don't care about the money they have stolen. I care about values. So for somebody to bring the nonsense about Tangatanga is just to show you that some of these Kenyans need to liberate their heads, liberate their minds.
Much, Dr. Miguna. Felix Maranga is saying that Miguna's victory will open a great avenue for diaspora candidate for the public office. Okay, Dr. Miguna, as we are closing up the interview, the conversation, we would like you to tell Kenyans if you'll be willing and ready to work with President Uhuru Kenyatta if you win or if you become the governor of Nairobi.
Omweri, the governor of Nairobi does not work for Uhuru Kenyatta. The governor of Nairobi works for the people of Nairobi, the residents of Nairobi. Not just the citizens, the residents, all the residents of Nairobi that pay taxes, that live in Nairobi. That would be my main focus. There is nothing I have to do with Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay, let me reframe my question, Dr.
Yeah.
Miguna. Are you ready to work with State House and mend fences with the Kenyan government if you become the governor of Nairobi?
Mend fences, mend what fences?
They offer an olive branch for reconciliation with the president and his government. That's the question.
I think that's a silly question. The president disobeyed court orders. The president disobeyed, subverted the constitution. The president violated my rights. So it's not up to me to give the president an olive branch. The president must first of all bring himself within compliance with the law. So if the president say, for example, and by the way, I don't want to call him the president. I think he's the Jubilee president. If the Jubilee president says, I'm going to obey all the laws, I'm going to comply with the provisions of the Constitution, I'm going to respect your human rights and the human rights of all Kenyans, then yes, because at that time, he would have reformed. It's up to Uhuru Kenyatta to reform, not up to me to say that I am giving him an olive branch. I can't give a criminal an olive branch, an unreformed criminal. So number one, he has to reform. He has to bring himself to accountability. And if he does, and the requirements of the law are met, then I will deal with him like I deal with any other citizen, the same way I deal with you.
Miguna, what do you need, or what do you believe do you believe that the diaspora narrative, which is actually being fronted by One Voice Consortium, is going to bring all Kenyans together? Or which advice do you give the people of diaspora, especially who wants to vie in any political position in Kenya? As you, after you answer that question, please have your closing remark as you are speaking to Kenyans directly. Thank you.
Yes, Omweri, thank you very much. Number one, thousands and thousands of people cannot speak with one voice. Okay? So that would be undemocratic. They can't speak with one voice. They may speak with one voice on certain issues that affect them. So, for example, the issue of being able to exercise their right to vote, that they can speak on because it affects all of them, and it is a positive right. The issue of having them run for office and occupy public office in Kenya, that's an issue that is positive and affects all of them. Those they can speak with in one voice. But as to political orientation, shades of opinion, those ones you have to allow, because if you don't allow that, you would be trying to create a monolithic opinion, which is just as bad as tyranny. So I don't subscribe to monolithism. I don't subscribe to the issue that everybody must agree. But we can agree on broad issues that affect all of us. So yes, on broad issues, the diaspora, Kenyan diaspora, should be able to speak with one voice. On the idiosyncratic issues of opinion, shades of opinion, and our religious and other beliefs, those ones you have to accommodate, because that's how human life is. Number two, I think this is a great opportunity for the diaspora to demonstrate to those in Nairobi wielding power that their economic strength, because Kenyan diaspora remits more money than Kenya gets from coffee and tea and tourism combined. They should be able to demonstrate to Nairobi that their economic power matters, that their voice matter, and that their rights matter. And they have to do that by supporting candidates that would add value to their lives. They have to do that by initiating and prosecuting cases that will result into orders and judgments that would support their interests. And they have to do that by speaking up consistently against injustice, against discrimination, against marginalization, against corruption, against tyranny. That the Kenyan diaspora have no option but to do. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me right now, Dr. Miguna?
I can hear you right now.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Miguna, for having time to speak to KDRTV live. We are going to have you most of the days. We are actually inviting all Kenyans to come for a candid conversation. We want to improve our country. So Dr. Miguna is a Kenyan. Dr. Miguna is a patriotic Kenyan. We want to hear him. We want to support him in every endeavors, because he's also a patriotic Kenyan. So anybody who is a Kenyan and wants to run for a political office in Kenya, we welcome you. Even if you are from the government, wherever you are staying, wherever you are living, if you are, especially people who are living outside of Kenya, that is the diaspora nation, please come forward. Let's have a conversation. Let's improve Kenya. So Dr. Miguna, what do you tell the people of Nairobi who are willing to vote for you? That is your final closing remarks as we are waiting for another session from KDRTV. We are actually going to have a session for mental health where we are bringing some experts to speak about mental health and domestic abuse. Dr. Miguna, the Nairobians are listening to you keenly. Give your closing remark as you are telling them what you want to offer them. Go ahead, Dr. Miguna.
So first of all, I want to say to all Kenyans, not just Nairobians, but all Kenyans, but particularly those who live in Nairobi, power belongs to the people. Power is in your hands. Your vote is your power. Nobody owns you. Nobody owns your vote. Nobody owns your life and your right to decide who will govern you. This is an opportunity to take back the power that was subverted in 2017. This is the time to demonstrate to the power barons in Nairobi that you will not be their slaves, you will not be their servants, you will not be controlled, manipulated, or made to vote for things that do not represent what are in your best interest. I am going to offer you vibrant, focused, visionary, transformative leadership. A leadership that is honest, that has integrity, a leadership that addresses the needs of the people. Not a leadership that answers to State House, that answers to power barons like Raila Odinga. So that's what I offer. I am independent-minded, I am focused on the needs of the people, and I would like to transform the lives of all Nairobians, regardless of race, regardless of tribe, regardless of political affiliation. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Miguna, and for viewers, don't forget to follow KDRTV for more information, for more news, for more interviews. So when you subscribe, when you follow us, you get live feeds so that you can actually know the next interview is going to be discussing about what. So Dr. Miguna, thank you very much. Let's meet next time. Bye.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Also, we leave it on the news on KTN Prime this Thursday night, the 18th day of February 2021. We do appreciate the privilege of your time tonight. My name is Ben Kitilia, our sign language interpreter tonight is Maresha Owiti, but here on KTN News, Kenya's premier news channel, the news doesn't stop, the broadcast continues. Time for Crossfire now with KTN Sophia Onuna live from the county of Kakamega. Sophia, good evening, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Indeed, it's time for Crossfire right here on KTN News. And we thank you for staying with us. Our conversation this evening, as I highlighted at the beginning of the bulletin earlier, is all of the talk around new alliances, new partners pulling together. And we've been seeing ANC, Ford Kenya, KANU and Wiper working together in the by-election, supporting one candidate, saying it is unity of purpose, and that this could lead to better tidings going forward towards 2022. And just today, perhaps in reaction or in response, we'll find out from my guest, the ODM leader Raila Odinga as well, hosting Kivuta Kibwana, the Makueni governor, and Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who has declared, not officially, but his intention to run for president in 2022. What do all of this mean and so much more? My guest this evening, live from the Golf Hotel in Kakamega County. I have with me on my immediate right, Edwin Sifuna. He's a Secretary General ODM.